Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Cole, and today we're talking about one of my favorite 90s bands, Oasis. They were the britpop kings back in the day, in the 90s. And this is their debut album from 1994 called Definitely Maybe. And I actually like this a little bit more than their next album, their most famous album, What's the Story, Morning Glory, which is technically a better album, but I have a soft spot for this one. But anyway, so I hope you guys like it. I hope you find it interesting. I'm excited to play some clips for you guys and talk about them. So let's dive in with my favorite track off the album, track 1, which is called Rock and Roll Star.
I've got to slow it right down. The days may be just too fast for me. I live my life for the stars that shine. People say it's just a waste of time. Then they said I should be my head. That to me was just a day in bed. I'll take my car and drive real far. You're not concerned about the way we dreams are real. Now we're concerned about the way I feel. Tonight, I'm a rock and roll star. Tonight, I'm a rock and roll.
Yeah, oh my goodness, I get goosebumps every time I hear this song. Like, just the hooks, there's so many hooks in his vocal melodies too are just really, really memorable. It's just such a great, energetic beginning to the album. And, you know, it's a very universal song for all you musicians out there who are struggling, because this guy is essentially escaping his dreary life through the dream of becoming a rock star, or at the very least, you know, pretending like he's one. You know, he probably plays to like 30 people every week, but as he says, you know, the days are just going by really quickly for him. So the only time in his life where time slows down and he feels amazing is when he's playing in his band at a gig on the weekend, right? That's when he feels alive. Although he does mention drugs, so don't do drugs, but I'm sure that helped him as well. But it's mostly about, you know, the dream of being a rock and roll star. It's just getting him through his life. So I dig this song quite a bit. It's a great 90s song, one of the best, in my opinion. But let's move on to track number 2, which is called Shakermaker, which is, it's not one of my favorites on this album, if I'm being honest, but it is a little interesting. There's something I want to clip and talk about. So let's check it out. So the lyrics on this song are not the most interesting thing in the world, except for on this clip, because I really like what he says. He says, I'd like to be somebody else and not know where I've been. So what that makes me think of is this guy has probably done everything possible within his budget, you know, within whatever his town has to offer. So like his life is just, you know, when it comes down to like what he can actually do, you know, because he's not rich, so he can't just go travel, but he's living in the small town. It sounds like he's playing gigs, and you know, his whole life is just known to him. Like there's no surprises left. So he wants to be somebody else and not know where he's been, in the sense that, you know, he wants some excitement. He wants some surprise. He wants to be unsure of what's going to happen, you know, things like that. So I like it from that standpoint. But the song is a little kind of repetitive, in my opinion. Like, it's not my favorite song, but it is a pretty decent song. So that's Shakermaker. Track number 3 is called Live Forever. It's one of my favorites, although it kind of goes on a little too long, if I'm being honest. But that's okay. You know, it's a good song. So let's check it out.
Maybe I don't really wanna know how your garden grows, 'cause I just wanna fly. Lately, did you ever feel the pain in the morning rain as it soaks you to the bone? Well, maybe I just wanna fly, wanna live but don't wanna die. Maybe I just wanna breathe. Maybe I just don't believe. Maybe you're the same as me. We see things I'll never see. You and I are gonna live forever. I said maybe I don't really wanna know.
Yeah, so our guy, I believe it was Noel Gallagher, is the singer-songwriter. You know, he wants to live forever. Like, he doesn't want to just be forgotten. He wants to be somebody who is striving for more than everyone else around him. You know, because as far as he, you know, it sounds like he looks at his friends, he looks at his family, and maybe they have good jobs, maybe they have good careers, and they have families and kids. But, you know, these are all people who will never be remembered. They're just cogs in the machine. Which, by the way, is, you know, that's life. For 99.9999% of people, you're just a cog in the machine. And as soon as all your friends and family die, no one's going to remember you. So obviously that's very depressing. But this guy, he wants to be a rock and roll star. He wants to live forever. He wants to have a legacy. And I think that's wonderful, you know. And you especially need to have that drive as a musician to keep you going, to keep you motivated, right? If you don't want to be the best because the best gets remembered, then how are you gonna be the best, right? So yeah, I like this song quite a bit. It's very hooky, it's very catchy. As I mentioned though, it goes on a little too long, but that's okay, I guess. You can't win them all. But track 4 is another favorite of mine, Up in the Sky. It's a monster song, so let's check it out. Yeah, this song is just so catchy. It's like unbelievable. And, you know, he's speaking about all those people who have really wonderful lives, but they complain about this and that. You know, they compared to our main character who has a really boring life, essentially, other than being in a band, you know, he's saying, welcome to my world. You know, like, oh, look at this guy with all the things he wants, with a wonderful wife and a great job and all this money, but he's complaining about, you know, probably something that's very minor, let's say. So this guy's like, oh, you're feeling bad. Well, welcome to my world. Like, my world sucks. You know, you think you're having a bad time. Like, well, you know, welcome to my world. Although I do want to say that, like, be careful, Noel. Don't be one of those people who one-ups somebody else, right? So someone's like, oh, I'm having a really bad day. Noel shouldn't be one of those guys who's like, oh, you had a bad day, huh? Well, this happened to me, and that was way worse than what happened to you. So be careful, Noel. Don't be one of those people. Those people are really annoying. But anyway, so yeah, he doesn't want to hear it from you people. Like, he's having a rough time and you're having a rough time, and that just is what it is as far as he's concerned. But that's Up in the Sky. It's one of my favorites. Really catchy, really energetic. But let's move on to track number 5, which is called Columbia. Yeah, so our guy, Noel, has finally made it, it sounds like. You know, he's been playing in gigs with his band, trying to get through the day, get through the week. You know, but as we mentioned earlier, he had his life figured out in the sense that, like, there's nothing to surprise him. His whole daily and weekly and monthly and yearly routine was just the same boring stuff that, you know, he escaped from using drugs in rock and roll. But now it sounds like our character is getting successful. You know, his band is blowing up, I would assume, and he's not sure what to think about it. Like, you know, maybe he's got a whole bunch of fans who recognize him. Maybe the paparazzi are bugging him, the tabloids, you know. So things are finally different from this guy. Like, he's got some surprise now in his life, but he's trying to figure it out. Like, do I actually like this, or is this not what I actually want in my life? You know, there's that saying that, like, be careful what you wish for. So he's possibly not enjoying it as much as he thought he would, but he's figuring it all out, you know. So yeah, that's Columbia. That's all I have to say about it. So let's move on to track 6, which is another favorite. I love this song. It's called Supersonic. Let's check it out.
I need to be myself.
Yeah, so Supersonic is Noel's mental struggle with trying to be himself, but also like play the game, so to speak. So he's kind of like dealing with the fact that he doesn't want to be a fake person. He doesn't want to follow a trend just to be successful. Like he wants to be successful while also being himself. And I guess he kind of alludes to the fact that like in order to do that and to get through all this, he needs to be drunk a little bit. So you might have a problem there. You know, he says, give me gin and tonic. But he's basically he's trying to figure out, like, how much do I really want to be famous? Do I want to sacrifice certain principles that I live by? Am I okay with that? You know, do I even have to do that? Maybe he doesn't need to do all those things. Maybe he can be himself and also be a superstar. So he's thinking about all these things. And, you know, it sounds like he doesn't want to turn into a fake person. He doesn't want to, you know, he doesn't want to spout BS. He doesn't want to sacrifice the real Noel to be famous, to be successful. So I admire that, you know, and it's a struggle that every musician and artist is going to have to go through once they become famous, right? They're going to have to deal with these issues, I would imagine. So sonically, it's a really cool song. I like it a lot, but I like these lyrics too. But that's all I have to say about it. So let's move on to track 7, which is called Bring It On Down. Yeah, so our poor guy, poor Noel, is feeling kind of, he doesn't feel like he fits in, right? He says, I'm the outcast, I'm the underclass, but he doesn't care because he's living fast. So like, he's dealing with the fact that he's trying to be himself, and being himself means, you know, not succumbing to certain norms and standards that might be accepted from like a rock star. So he, as we mentioned, he wants to be himself, but being himself, as we've established, probably means he likes to drink a lot, you know, and he probably says and does things that aren't like the nicest. I mean, I think I've read about Noel that he's kind of like, he can be a jerk sometimes. So as he says in the song, you think they're talking about you, but you don't know who. I'll be scraping their lives from the sole of my shoe tonight. So as far as he's concerned, like, people are talking smack about him, but because he's accomplished so much, because he's a rock star now, you know, he's not like concerning himself necessarily with all the smack talk going around about him, right? Because as far as he's concerned, the smack talk is like dirt on the bottom of his shoe that he scrapes off. So, you know, he's the outcast, he's the underclass, and he's proud of it, and he's not going to let being famous change his core self, right? His core self is proud of being from the underclass. He's proud of being an outcast. He's proud of not succumbing to norms, is what it sounds like. So I like this song. That's all I have to say about Bring It On Down. So let's move on to Cigarettes and Alcohol, which is another favorite of mine from this album. So let's check it out. Yeah, I like these lyrics a lot. They really stood out to me. But I think he's wrong. I disagree with him. right? Because he says, what's the point of going through all this aggravation to get a job where you don't really, like, your soul doesn't feel fulfilled by doing this job? Like, let's say you're not, most jobs are just ways to make money for your family, right? But as far as Noel's concerned, like, if you're not working for greatness, then you're just wasting your time. So I disagree with that. I think it's honorable for most people. It doesn't matter what your job is. It doesn't matter if you're a trash man or you work at McDonald's or you're a janitor. Like, you take pride in your work, and you're providing for your family, and that's worth working for, as far as I'm concerned. But Noel doesn't feel that way. The only job worth working in is like being a rock star or like a scientist or something where you'll live on. It seems like that's what he thinks. So as he says, like, as far as he's concerned, you might as well do the white line, which of course is cocaine. So, like, you might as well take drugs and try to be happy that way, because everything else is like just such a bummer for this guy. So I think he needs to fix up his philosophy a little bit. I think he's got it all wrong. I mean, yeah, it's noble, or not noble. It's one thing to want to be remembered and live on as a legend, as a rock legend, for example, because he's a musician, obviously. But I mean, 99.999% of people are going to be stuck doing jobs that are necessary for society to function, but they're not necessarily going to be remembered. They're not going to be respected by certain people who don't understand the value that they offer to the world, right? Every job is important, even if people get lost thinking about, like, oh, well, you're not a doctor or you're not a lawyer, so how important could you be? Everyone's important, so just keep that in mind. If you're feeling down, if you feel like you're not worth anything, just remember, if you're doing a job, you're important, okay? So anyway, I like this song quite a bit, because it makes me think of a lot of things. Plus, it's just got some great hooks on it. I mean, I love his vocals on this song. But that's what I wanted to say. I think it was a single, and I can definitely see that. I can definitely hear that. But anyway, I'm going to skip Digsy's Dinner, or Digsy's Dinner, rather. It wasn't terribly interesting enough for me to clip. So I'm going to move on to track 10, which is called Slide Away, and I love this song. So let's check it out. Yeah, this song is just really memorable, in my opinion. I just love this song. But it sounds like the guy from Cigarettes and Alcohol who didn't understand the value in working to provide for your family has met the woman of his dreams. And so now it's kind of occurring to him that, like, oh, even if I don't become rich and famous, then, my life, I'll be happy in my life because I'm with someone who I absolutely love, and I want to provide for them. I want us to have a nice life together, right? I would imagine. So it sounds like he's turning around. His thoughts are not as, like, pessimistic as they were. So good for him, good for Noel, our character here. But yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say about the song other than it's just simply a sonic, gem as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, I'm going to play one more clip for you guys from the last track, which is called Married with Children. Let's check it out.
There's no need for you to say you're sorry. Goodbye, I'm going home. I don't care no more, so don't you worry. Goodbye, I'm going home. I hate the way that even though you know you're wrong, you say hate the books you read and all your friends. Your music's shite, it keeps me up all night, up all night. There's no need for you to say you're sorry. Goodbye, I'm going home.
Yeah, I like this song a lot. I mean, it's very relatable, right? I mean, every relationship I've ever been in, you know, I love the person, but I just can't help being annoyed by just X number of things that they do. You know, you live with someone for so long that you start noticing small petty things that annoy you and frustrate you. But you just kind of accept it. Like you deal with the annoyance for a little bit, but then you just realize, well, I mean, it's not a big deal. I love this person. I want to be with this person. You know, who cares if their music taste is terrible, or who cares that they forget to do the dishes sometimes, or they leave trash out sometimes. You know, I'm going to come home and I'm going to forgive them and we're going to make love and it'll be fine. So, you know, I like the song quite a bit, and it's very different compared to the rest of the album. You know, it's not as intense and energetic. So it's a nice little closure. But yeah, that's definitely maybe, you know, it's just such a guitar heavy, hooky, fun album, you know, Britpop album. It's a 90s classic as far as I'm concerned. And I think it really gets overshadowed by their next album, which was a huge hit, obviously. I mean, What's the Story, Morning Glory was just such a monster of an album. There's just so many crazy songs from that album, like Champagne Supernova, and some others I forget, but you know which ones they are because they're played all the time on the radio. But I think this one gets overlooked, so I wanted to talk about it. You know, so I hope you guys like it. I hope you find it interesting. You know, but as always, feel free to comment with your thoughts and opinions. You know, do you like Oasis? Do you hate Oasis? You know, whatever you have to say, I'll check it out. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. It would really help me out. I like making these for you guys. I really do. But that's all I have to say. That's Oasis. Definitely maybe. Check it out. And have a good one.